Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Mykela. I'm very glad and excited to have you here on my channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today we're going to discuss a few terms or ideas, and then we will add to your cave stories. Our first term is vehement. Vehement as an adjective describes acting with great force, intense emotions, or passionate conviction. It refers to actions or opinions that are extremely strong, often angry or sympathetic, such as vehement denial or vehement opposition. The term implies high energy, urgency, passion. Some synonyms are passionate, forceful, ardent, impassioned, or heated. How can we use this in your stories? Well, let's look at vehement denial. Take a young teenage girl who was violated by her father. And the mother is in court trying to get custody of the girl or a restraining order for the father. And the teenage girl vehemently denies things by saying, with her head down, "Daddy didn't do it. Daddy didn't do it." Okay. Or Daddy didn't do anything. Daddy didn't do anything. Daddy didn't do anything. The mom cannot get the court's help to protect her daughter, and this is very sad. But it is a textbook example of a victim protecting the perpetrator, and it happens in real life all the time. This force of emotion the teenage daughter is displaying is fear covered up. We as writers know our characters, and we know if our characters truly vehemently oppose something or if they're acting that way because of an underlying reason. In the book we're discussing on Wednesdays, Winston talks about the 2-minute hate, and the telescreen is promoting vehement hate against Goldstein. Another example for vehement denial is a murderer who fears going to jail. He or she will vehemently deny doing the crime. An alcoholic will vehemently deny having a problem. In our stories, it is important to portray the personalities of people correctly, especially after we develop our characters. Some of our stories will have a need for a character or characters to act with great force. And I'm going to fix that in case somebody asks for the... Okay, so we need to develop our characters, and some of our stories will have a need for character or characters to act with great force, intense emotion, passionate conviction. The protagonist might be angry at the injustice and vehemently fight for justice. The antagonist may truly believe he or she is the victim and vehemently fight to keep the victim status, to continue getting reparations, and to continue perpetuating crimes on innocent people who the antagonist calls his or her oppressors. Now, I did say antagonist. So the antagonist is perpetuating crimes on people that he calls his or her oppressor. Or he or she calls his or her oppressors. Now, think about our stories. If there is no great force or intense emotion, then oftentimes our stories won't move. They'll just fall flat. Leave comments on a character in a show, book, or movie who acted vehemently. Our next term is licentious. Licentious, also an adjective, describes behavior that is in an S way, unrestrained, or it's behavior that is immoral or lacking legal or moral discipline, often implying a disregard for accepted social standards. Some synonyms are lascivious, lewd, inappropriately, free, profligate, debauched, wanton, promiscuous. If we're dealing with an antagonist that is a criminal or a tyrant, then his or her actions are immoral. A serial killer lacks legal and moral discipline. A prostitute or rapist is disregarding accepted social standards, at least in the West. Or in the Judeo-Christian religions, those are against the social norms. Anything that happens in life, anything, we can go and we can look and we can see. We pull it out of life and we can weave into our stories. We can read parts of it into our stories. We can weave whole scenes. If we watch something happen, we can put that in our story. We may rename the characters to something we like better or whatever. We watch people at the mall or in the store or on the TV or on YouTube. We see people who act moral and we see those who act immoral. There are even protagonists that act immoral as if the ends justifies the means. And it doesn't. It doesn't. In Crime and Punishment, this is a book that I don't recommend. The main character, Roger, and they called him Roger Michin or something like that, but sometimes they called him Roger because it was a Russian name. Anyway, Roger murdered a woman and her sister, and he felt that the woman who was the pawn shop owner and gave out loans, he felt that she was taking advantage of people she gave loans to. So he felt he was justified in killing her. But like I said, I don't recommend this book because the protagonist, the main character, the hero, was the murderer. So I don't recommend it. It was not a Western ending with a happily ever after or anything like that, but because he fell in love with a girl and apparently he felt sorry in the end, but he was in prison. He got the girl. It's like, okay, it's not Western book at all. He did the murder. He got the girl. It just, I don't recommend it. But still, protagonists can do immoral things because they think the ends justifies the means. And that's what my point was with that story, is that he thought getting rid of this person that preyed upon poor people was good. And he thought he was helping poor people, but some of these poor people needed the loans and stuff so they could give their cigarette lighter or their watch or whatever, and they get loans and stuff. So anyway, but that kind of character, that the protagonist that does things that are immoral, is more often associated with vigilante characters. And vigilante characters can often act in a licentious way, meaning he or she acts outside of the law and outside of the courts. Many people in a high place or office will take payoffs and kickbacks to act in a licentious way or to misuse their office by misappropriating funds or means of the office's purpose, such as a reception. Here's a simple example. A receptionist in a doctor's office that calls in doctor's prescriptions to the pharmacy. And now we don't really even have that. When I was a kid, they would write it out on a notepad and we would bring it into the pharmacy. But now, and the doctor's handwriting was so bad. So a receptionist in a doctor's office that calls in doctor's prescriptions to pharmacy. But the friend asks the receptionist to call in something like an opioid. So the receptionist just calls it in without a doctor's prescription. That's a licentious use of that position. We can think of many more such things in our day and age and in our setting. So that's just a small example. You have all kinds of stuff going on now. People writing bills to get COVID funds for autistic children, and then those funds are now available for people to misuse. There's lots of licentious things going on in our culture, and so people are using their position in the Senate or the House to write the bills to have funds available for people to misuse. So that's licentious, very easily licentious. Now, in the story we're adding to today, in my version, do you think it is legal for Zalira's group to get and use C4, or is that licentious? Especially according to Maldrake. If Maldrake is the law, and I haven't really said that he is, he's just an antagonist. They're fighting. It's not really like they have law and order, but if Maldrake is the law, it is surely licentious. So leave a comment on a show, book, or movie where the character acts in a licentious way. Now that brings us to your cave stories. First, remember that all works shared on the channel are copyright protected, so there is no worry. Share your works by sending in your writings to writewithmykela@gmail.com. So no spaces. I look forward to reading your stories and writing prompts on the channel. We're on part 35 of your cave story. We started working on this story in season 1, episode 25. And I list the rest of the episodes in the description below. When we started, we wrote about a peaceful cave where you could hear the water drip dropping and you could see the magnificent things and we're going splunking and stuff. So we had a peaceful cave first, and we set the mood. That is one of your tools that you should not forget. Then we contrasted the peaceful mood and wrote about a scary cave to compare and contrast the mood between the two. I also listed the plot in the description below, and if you're starting today, that is perfectly fine. That is acceptable. That is doable. That is great. Go for it. And then send it in to us to read on the channel. Now, to continue your writing on this, ask a question and write a scene to answer it. Reread what you have written or what you wrote last time. Stop and define your characters to yourself so you know their histories and what makes him or her tick. Ask yourself, what's the struggle? What's the outcome I'm heading toward? Have I made things too easy on my protagonist? Remember, the most important thing, in my mind, is to have fun with your writing. If you don't like your story, edit it. Take out what you don't like and enhance the parts you do. See if you can create an intriguing protagonist. Unlike Roger. Right? I didn't like Roger. See if you can create an intriguing protagonist with an active goal or problem and some high stakes. And ticking clock. If the clock's not ticking, your story's not moving. You need those things to create a good story, along with interrelated events that build to a climax. Pause the video. Add to your cave story or your story that started with a cave. And come back and I will read what I added. Welcome back, writers. Now I will read what I wrote, if my computer will let me. Bramber tried out his short, hairy legs, and he raised up to be on all four paws. He walked a couple of steps, and he swung his head in several directions. Bramber heard a voice above call down to him and tell him to remember that he wanted to help his friend. Bramber groaned, but it came out as a growl, and he walked out of the little cell. The pinkish red light was annoying. As Bramber walked, he heard something scraping the cave floor, and he looked down and he saw long, enormous claws on each of his front paws. He hung his head down between his front legs as much as he was able, and it seemed that his back paws also had long claws. He thought to himself, just how is this supposed to help Solera? Grant will kill me before I get near her. Maybe I can link out of this body. He walked to the cave that Solera had first slid into, and he smelled several things. Then he found Solera's scent. Although he didn't know it was her scent, it was much more pleasant to smell than any other scent in the cave. So he followed it to the tunnel. Then he lay down. He was exhausted. His body took a lot of energy to maneuver. Solera had been sitting with her head in her hands. She finally slowly raised her head. Tanata sat on the ground near her and offered her some water. If you need more headache medicine, I can check if it's been long enough, so you can take more. Solera slightly raised the water. Thank you. I think this will do for now. She sipped the water and then took a gulp. I feel so dizzy and so... I don't know. What happened? Donata looked around and then said quietly, We think you went all the way to New Zealand or to London, England. We think that because of the shipping labels. Solera looked at Donata and pushed her eyebrows together. Shipping labels? Did I leave and get shipped back? Donata looked around again. Donnie came over and squatted near Donata. He tousled her hair. Hey, kiddo, did you learn anything? Donata shook her head. No, she thinks she was shipped to us instead of bringing us to C4. C4? What? asked Solera. Donnie looked at her carefully. We didn't find a bump on your head, but perhaps Dr. Lyson should check you out. Do you remember us? Solera slightly nodded her head. You're Donnie and Grant's friend. You offered to let Grant and I come live with you in the mountains. She turned slightly to Donata. And you are Donata, his lovely daughter. Donata blushed and looked at her father. Donnie raised up. I'll get the doctor. You tell her what we think happened to her. They watched Donnie walk off, and then Donata told Solera how she meditated, and then no one saw her. There were no footprints or I should say anything. Okay. And the computer went cuckoo on me. Anything. We don't do double negatives in English. Okay. There were no footprints or anything. She told Solera how many worried about her, especially the doctor. And when she didn't come back, the doctor wanted to check the cave because people kept ending up in the cave. Donata told about finding Solera and the crate and hearing Maldrake's people on the radio and linking her back and opening the crates. Solera started to get up. I want to see this crate. Dr. Lyson walked up at that moment and put her hand on Solera's shoulder. All in good time. I'm told your memory is a bit off. I need to scan your head, so I want you to lay down. Solera handed the cup to Donata and thanked her. Then she lay down like the doctor asked. The doctor scanned and then told Zalira to continue resting. Dr. Lyson then went to the commanders and told them quietly that she saw some swelling in the brain, but it wasn't much. She hoped with rest things would get better. The commanders asked about the scans on the people that went to burn the rhino carcass. She told them that she noticed some small black patches in their lungs, almost like a longtime smoker. She didn't have any remedies, but knew that the lungs could often repair themselves if the injury didn't keep occurring. Dr. Lyson said, I wish I could link somewhere, like a medical library, and read some cures. Doctors are supposed to have continuing education, and I haven't read a medical journal in 7 or 8 years now. Be careful what you wish for, stated Commander Thurnall. Commander Nyson looked at him. We need that kind of information. I understand that, replied Commander Thurnall. But Zalira wanted to find C4, and she linked all the way across the ocean. Commander Nyson nodded his head in understanding. A group from the bunkers and 2 commanders sat down and started planning. They were out of earshot of Zalira because everyone wanted her to rest. At the same time, she brought them the C4, and the radios picked up the voices, so they needed to make the most of things. Commander Thurnall told about the trash tunnel that he had crawled out of, and he thought that was the best place to stuff some C4. But Commander Nyson said there was no guarantee they could set it off before outgoing trash pushed it out in the dumpster. They decided to send some people for some reconnaissance. Some would find ideal locations for the C4, and others would figure out how close Maldrake's troops were to them. Excuse me. They formed fire groups, which meant 3 people. One would link to a destination, and another would link back. Before anyone left, Dr. Lyson scanned their brains, and she would scan them again once they returned. Okay, writers, that's the end of what I'm adding today. That was only 962 words. If your goal is 1,000 words, you need about 38 more words. 38 more words isn't a lot. So, that was 962. Leave a comment on if Brambird can link out of his body, or link at all in this new body. Leave a comment on if you think Zalira's long trip is what caused her brain to swell. Leave a comment on the children helping. In my opinion, it's important for the children to help for many reasons. One, they will know more of what's going on if they help. They will appreciate things and understand why there's rules. But 2, they often have wonderful ideas. Since they don't have all the inhibitions yet, like we do as an adult, So they don't have all those inhibitions, so they will think of things. And maybe what they think won't work, but it sparks another idea, and that sparks another idea. So you need their ideas. Writing is so much fun. So don't forget to send your writings, what you just wrote, into me to read for the channel at writewithmykela@gmail.com. I would love to know what you found in your caves, outside your caves. Love to know what's going on. Have you finished that story so far? Are you still going on? Join me Wednesday for our book club discussion of 1984. And I think I've already showed you that today. 1984. Join me Friday for chapter 6 of Elementals. Join me Tuesday for some jargon. Part 28 of A Down Soldier. Visit my website by Mykela and read some character bios and send in your unpolished writings and chapters to writewithmykela@gmail.com. Leave comments, your favorite characters, your favorite scenes, and I'm still accepting chapters from any of the shared plots. If you hit the like and subscribe and the bell, then other people will have a higher chance finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video out to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. This is Mykela with Right with Mykela. Bye for now.